Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Into the Snyder-Verse, the mini-series of backlog banter where we analyze Man of Steel, Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, and Justice League, all in
Thank
preparation
you.
for the Snyder Cut by Zack Snyder. This week we are talking about Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Cut, probably the most contentious video we'll have in this mini-series. This may very well tear this channel apart by its very foundations, and you are here to watch it.
Oh shit.
Who's to say how long this video is? You clicked on it, so thank you very much. You should click on more of our videos. Actually, no, you should click that subscribe button on our channel and the like on this video, and probably the Discord link that's in the description of this video. Click all those things, join all those things, because you're about to watch maybe some yelling, maybe some agreeing. So I'd like to set some ground rules here.
Okay.
Let's just establish this by saying, listen, we're all friends here. You can like what you like, but we're here to talk about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Cut.
Now, can we start with the fact that Batman v Superman does not need a subtitle? It's already a unique enough name. There's never gonna be another Batman v Superman. There never was another one before.
Well,
it doesn't need an extra one.
It's Dawn of Justice because it's before Justice League. We get it.
But it's the first time on my notes I've ever needed to continually write until it dips down.
And it droops a little bit.
It's such a long fucking, and I didn't even have room to write Ultimate Cut on there. It's so long. It's a long fucking name.
Okay, so what would be the best way to go about this, gents? Should we give our opening thoughts, or should we break it down beginning to end like we do with Man of Steel?
I think we should give overall thoughts.
Okay.
But
okay.
Tanner, I like a good preamble, as Tucker unfortunately knows. Mm-hmm. So I think we should just share a little bit of like background.
Got one of those in the Constitution, right?
I think there is.
Yes, there is. Yes.
If anything, this is going to be the constitution of backlog banter.
Yes, absolutely. I think we should just take a second and say where we're coming into this movie from.
Okay. Okay.
So for me, this is my 7th time watching Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. This is my 7th viewing. And I think that belies my position, but let's just go around the room.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty short preamble.
This is my 2nd time watching the film. First time with the Ultimate Cut. Hadn't seen it since theaters.
Yeah, same here. He remembered it significantly better than I did, though.
I actually surprised myself with how much of this film I remembered.
I actually never saw it in theaters. I've never seen the theatrical cut.
Oh wow!
I bought into the hate, and I didn't go see it in theaters.
Wow.
I didn't see it until the extended cut even came out on digital, and then since then, well, seen it a couple times.
How long after the theatrical release was that?
That was this summer. So the film came out, I believe, in March, and then I saw it over that summer. So a couple months later.
Okay.
And this is my first time seeing it since a couple years. So
I see.
Say a couple weeks ago, you know.
No, not a couple of weeks, unfortunately. I'm not watching it as regularly as I should. So I had a little bit of time between my last viewing and this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. So
a little bit of time to mature, a little bit of time to mellow out.
Yes.
Abram,
since you've seen it, this is the 7th time now.
7th viewing.
Why don't you give us and the audience your impressions on this 7th viewing?
I'm gonna take off my headset.
So I am often overly critical of a lot of things, right? And that's kind of my MO as the arbiter of taste, right? I love this movie more every time I watch it.
I see.
I don't like to operate in the realm of hyperbole because I just don't like hyperbole, but I legitimately had chills for most of the movie and almost cried at several points. I can think of 2 distinct moments.
Okay.
I legitimately think that this film is operating on a much higher level than a lot of other comic book movies. And for me, whether it hits all the way, and watching it again, I noticed some more things that stand out to me as overtly negative or taking away from what Zack Snyder has created. But on the whole, I just think this film is ambitious and operatic, and I really, really love it. I think it's incredible.
Okay. Tucker, do you want to do opening thoughts as well?
I think I'd rather just get into the movie.
Okay,
I don't know how we pace that because I could not tell you where this movie opens. I don't fucking
It's
remember.
Metropolis. I think it's a good place to start, actually, because I believe this will be a unifying moment for us, while the rest of the movie may not be. Because that opening Metropolis scene, Bruce Wayne charging into the crumbling building of Wayne Enterprises is really great. I really like it.
That's
Actually,
not where it opens.
Not quite where the film starts.
We get the slowest ever Batman origin.
It's not very slow. It's
I meant
slow
slow motion. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
It's never been slower.
Yeah, so we see a young Bruce running away from the funeral and falling down the hole with all of the bats.
Yes.
Intercut with
Bat hole.
his parents being killed in Crime Alley.
Classic DC location, the bat.
It looks pretty. I'll give him that. Looks pretty.
It looks pretty. To be fair, it's basically a more involved like Bond opening.
Yeah, you're right. It does remind me of that.
It's not necessarily like it's important to the plot because it's Batman. You're seeing his origin, but really, the film essentially opens in Metropolis. That is where the film begins.
Yeah.
But I really like this opening sequence. I am not big on retreading origins, so I feel like if you're going to do it this way in a more of let's introduce the film,
it's like an opening credits kind of
it's
thing.
An opening credits type of sequence, and I really love the shot of the 9mm snapping Martha's pearls. I think it really sets the tone for better and for worse for what you're going to get into for the next 2 hours and 55 minutes.
I think you're correct. That idiot robber, he's not going to be able to grab those pearls. They're all over everywhere.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by the opening sequence and the essentially recreation of Batman's origin story, because I didn't remember that they even did that. And I again, like you, I thought that was a way cooler way for the classic pearls to be snapped shot to happen. It gave it a little bit more of a cinematic flair. But I liked that it was intercut with both things. So you were sort of seeing both happen at once. It was done with tasteful slow-mo. I'm not a huge fan of slow-mo as a whole, but I thought that in the ways it was used, it was fine. I think the fact that it was, it was almost completely wordless. It was really slow pacing wise. I think kind of made it. I don't know. It just kind of felt a little bit vapid. Like it's like, okay, yeah, this is Batman's origin story, but like the lack of dialogue doesn't really give character to the characters in the scene. It really doesn't give you anything to work off of for young Bruce Wayne. And honestly, there aren't a ton of shots of him, like his reactions to things. There are a handful, but it's a lot more environmental shots and like cool cinematographic moments rather than the emotion. And I think that kind of looking back on it, even though I did enjoy it in the moment, I think could have been handled in a more engaging and emotional way for a origin story.
Okay, I think we can continue to analyze this one, but this is quite literally opening title sequence, and this is a 3-hour film, so let's keep moving.
Well, fuck you!
Please.
I gotta say my bit.
Well, I know. I do. Well, let's. All
right, here we go. Because I do begin.
I do want to actually talk about the opening Metropolis sequence because I think that is the unifying part of this. Seeing Bruce Wayne not in the bat suit run into the crumbling smoke of Metropolis is really cool. It shows you the inherent heroism that Batman should have. If he does, it's yet to be seen if he actually does have it in this film. We'll get into it later, I suppose. But it shows the inherent heroism that he should have as a character.
Yes,
and I really like that. We get some horses in the smoke.
Yeah, it starts the horse motif.
The horse motif of this
much
film,
like the oranges in Godfather. Zack Snyder and his horses.
Yeah.
I really love this opening sequence. One thing I really appreciate about this film is that it relies a lot on visual storytelling, and I really like how in the absence of a lot of dialogue, Zack Snyder is able to communicate a lot throughout the film. There's various sequences that I'll bring this up again as we get to them, but I think this is just a really great way to characterize Snyder's version of Bruce Wayne. And I think now is I think a fine time to mention the fact that I really like Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yep, I think he does a good job.
Yeah, he's fun.
It does, like you said, it does a good job of setting up Zack Snyder's Batman, establishing that he is angry with Superman because he essentially did a 9/11 times 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of so I a problem I have is the sort of inorganic way that a lot of sometimes Marvel will stitch together its films. Sort of, oh, here's a post-credit scene that's going to lead into this. I love the way that Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman become so organically and importantly tied together. It really
Jesus.
Goodness.
it's Jesse Eisenberg arriving on his little motorcycle.
Well, we'll get to it.
We definitely will, but I think it's just such an incredible tool to recontextualize the end of Man of Steel and to give such organic sense to the fact that, yeah, Batman is in this world and Batman is directly affected by what Superman had done. And it sets up, I think everyone in this film is motivated well, which we might debate later, but I think it sets up so clearly, okay, this is why Bruce thinks he needs to get rid of Superman. It feels organic and it feels incredibly grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seriously is one of the better reasons for anything superhero related to happen. I think that the fact that you do get, I think probably one of the best, like, shoes on the ground alien attack sequences that I've seen. You've got your Cloverfields, you got your opening to Infinity War, stuff like that, but it usually loses some of the weight. And I think that the fact that you are seeing just civilians reacting to it from that perspective for so long, it's a pretty long sequence, all things considered, and I think that works really well. And I think you're right about it feeling really organic and setting up Bruce's internal conflict and his motivations. I think that Ben Affleck is a much better Bruce Wayne than he's a Batman.
Okay.
Don't care too much for it. Like the voice modifier's a little too deep. He's a little bit too herky jerky in his Batman movements and stuff. So, but I think that he's a very compelling Bruce Wayne, and I think that him diving straight into the fray and trying to save some people, and might not make a ton of sense. Him running towards the building to save his buddy 40 floors up. He's not going to actually get anything done from that, but it's a heroic concept.
Yeah, exactly. It operates in concept of showing Batman's heroism.
Yeah.
It also
okay.
Sorry, because I don't want. This also leads into one of my biggest pros of the entire film.
Okay.
And it's introduced when Batman rescues little girl, and he's like, "Where's your mom?" And she points, and you see the shot of just this angry Bruce Wayne looking up, and you hear the bum, 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 bum. I fucking love the character music and score for this film. Yes. I think it adds so much weight and so much emotion to every sequence, whether we're talking about shredding for Wonder Woman on the electric guitar.
It's cool. Listen, some people don't like it. Some people think it's cheesy. I like it.
I don't like. Theme?
Yeah, I don't like how it's used the first time. I wish they had saved it for her entrance on Stryker Island. But yes, I do like that theme.
I think all of the character themes just add so much personality to the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We're moving forward. We're chugging along here. We got 2 scenes in the bag.
Oh Christ!
Now we have where the plot contrivances really start for this film.
What and are we? 15, 20 minutes in?
Yes. This is the scene of the desert. Amy Adams shows up. Lois Lane shows up to interview a general of some sort. The question is whether he's a terrorist or not. She literally asks him, "Are you a terrorist?" Great journalistic intent there. Amy Adams, love that stuff.
That doesn't get anything done.
No.
You don't achieve anything by being a journalist. Like, are you a terrorist? It's like, what the fuck does that accomplish?
That's besides the point. Because what happens is it's revealed that Jimmy Olsen, who Zack Snyder is like, I don't know what to do with this character. Let's shoot him in the head. It's revealed that he's a CIA agent, and he puts Lois Lane's life in danger.
Game theory. Not actually Jimmy Olsen, just a fake CIA name that's an Easter egg. That's what I think. I don't think that's actually Jimmy Olsen.
But what happens is that
doesn't really matter.
This ultimately plays into Lex Luthor's larger plan, which I want to talk about and analyze if we can, because there's some guys there that are working for Lex Luthor. They shoot all these insurgents, these people who are fighting against a tyrannical government. They shoot all of them, and then they burn them with a flamethrower. Now, my question is, if you're doing an autopsy on these people, it's like, and the idea is that, like, oh my God, Superman killed all these guys and he tossed this country into governmental turmoil. wouldn't you also notice these guys were riddled with bullet holes as well? That's my question.
Superman with an Uzi. Let's fucking go.
Well, we get Batman with an Uzi, so why not? But continuing, Superman shows up because Lois Lane is in danger, and he absolutely just smashes a guy through like 8 walls, maybe.
That guy's dead.
That guy is dead as all hell.
Whiplash, fucking blunt force trauma.
Yeah, blunt force trauma from going through stone walls. But and then there's a real question in this movie of whether or not there is a question.
A riddle from the Riddler, who's not in this movie.
There's a question of this film that is, how do superheroes operate in the real world? They're irresponsible. Their means might be questioned because Batman doesn't like Superman because he killed a bunch of people in Metropolis. Superman doesn't like Batman because he's killed people for 20 years in Gotham. And so are they and that's the thing that really confuses me about this movie is what Zack Snyder is trying to say, where he's going with all of this.
Now I know Abram Peter has a direct line to God here. He listens to Zack Snyder whisper in his sleep. Yeah. And so he can tell us what translate.
Are they two sides of the same coin? Why do they have this conflict because they're similar? Are they different in some way? Is Superman Jesus? Who's Batman? And that, if that allegory is true, Abram, tell me, enlighten me.
So this film was directed by Zack Snyder, director of Watchmen. Is my point.
Okay.
This is Zack Snyder, I think, carrying a lot of the thematic material and weight of Watchmen and the who watches the Watchmen and all of these things.
Yeah. I watched it.
I also watched the Watchmen and into the context of Batman and Superman. I personally think that upon my 7th viewing of the film, Batman vs Superman raises
the 7th viewing that the themes come out.
What I think it does is this film raises a lot of questions that I'm not sure it necessarily answers or really cares to answer sometimes.
Yeah.
I think Superman as Jesus is a very obvious, and it gets more obvious as you get into the end of the film and you literally recreate the painting of the fucking God or Jesus, whoever, touching man's hand.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice until this time watching, or him basically sacrificing himself on the cross of Doomsday's arm for everyone around him. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that the tension is more between God and man opposed to Batman and Superman. And the biggest hurdle you have to there's 2 hurdles you have to get over to enjoy Batman versus Superman. Okay. And I was able to see them more clearly this time around. Okay. First of all, the plot is really really.
Oh, is it? I know you don't even have to use an adjective to describe the plot.
It's really reliant on everything happening exactly how Lex Luthor wants to happen.
Is it? Is it reliant on that?
That's the first problem. And the second problem is that Zack Snyder is you know the Elon Musk on Joe Rogan fucking puffing a blunt.
He's doing the big old doobie.
There's a lot of Zack Snyder posturing about philosophy in this film, and whether that rings hollow or like a middle-aged man pretentiously talking about philosophy in a superhero movie, it's up for the viewer to decide. And I think that for me it works better because that's what I want out of my superhero media. But I don't think it hits for everybody, and as soon as Lois finds the only bullet that was left behind,
untouched, by the way, not crumpled or anything.
Well, no, it shot into her notebook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
that's why she has it.
Yeah. Well, that's besides the point.
But like, there's bullets, like
how'd you get her notebook
in the ground because she picks it up. You see her pick it up.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
But there's bullets like in the walls and the ground, and there's a forensic team. They'd probably find one. But you have to get over some of these things. And I want to make a proposition here. I don't necessarily know that we need to go point for point because we're like 15 minutes into this discussion. We're literally 15 minutes into the film, and if you just kind of extrapolate, we're gonna run into a problem. So do you want to just kind of talk about Lex from a macro level?
Let's talk about Lex Luthor's plan. Let's walk through this step by step. So his plan from the beginning is, okay, we're going to frame Superman for murder, even though he already murders people. We saw him murder that one guy by smashing him through a bunch of walls. But we're going to frame him. We're going to frame him for a bunch of murders. And then we're going to get Batman to get angry at Superman. We're gonna play into Batman's anger with Superman by, what does he do to get Batman like really kickstart that violence?
Well, so he does the letters to Scoot McNairy.
Yeah, he does Scoot McNairy's letters.
Yeah.
And he basically says, okay, Scoot, we're gonna get you to sue Superman for being a bad guy, and we're gonna put you into this courthouse, and we're gonna blow up the courthouse. And Superman did see the bomb, so people get angry at him because he didn't see the bomb. That's why people get angry at him.
I think people thought that he blew it up.
Yeah, people don't know that Superman can't see through lead, right?
True. Yeah.
And so
Well, except for Lex Luthor.
right, because there's a tension in this film. There's a tension in this film between Lex Luthor's plan being really interesting of let's put Superman and Batman against each other, and basically turn them into political flashpoints, which I think is interesting. I like the way that government regulation is brought in, and you see all these news broadcasts of people debating the merit of those. You have all this great stuff over here, right?
Yeah.
And then over here, you have
what's actually in the movie.
Jesse
is
Eisenberg's,
how he actually does it.
Yeah, and also it's right in the middle. You have Jesse Eisenberg's just unhinged delivery where he's just going, have a Jolly Rancher.
I love
the gods and the devils, and man is coming, and gods come down, and they're coming from the earth and from the sky, and the devils are the mans, and the mans are gods, and everyone is a god, a devil, or a man.
I love Lex
It's completely unhinged, and I fucking hate it.
It's fine.
Here's why I like it.
We run the gamut, boys.
Yeah.
Here's why I like it. Okay.
Okay.
Basically, Zack Snyder turned Lex Luthor into a sort of new money fuck who is socially inept and inherited. All
he just said
it.
He said do Mark Zuckerberg again, but make him obsessed with philosophy as well.
Which I like. I think that's interesting. I think
it sucks.
I think the idea of we're getting, okay, here's a buttoned up, shaved head, 50-year-old Lex Luthor is a lot less interesting contemporary than the idea of, oh, here's another one of these fucking weird billionaire kids who has way too many resources at his disposal and has no fucking idea of how the world works.
But here's the thing. Here's what I want to say. And Tucker, you can get to your point after this. That would work better if they played into the fact that because Lex Luthor's thing is that he wants to be the most powerful man, and he resents Superman for being more powerful than him. But Jesse Eisenberg doesn't have any of that. He's just a fucking insane person. He just the gods and the devils. I have a painting. Look, my dad bought this painting, but should I turn it upside down? Because the gods come from the ground. And if it was more about I want to be the most powerful man. I want to control everything. I got all the money. I'm going to control all the technology, but I resent Superman because he's more powerful than me. Then that'd be an interesting twist on the typical Lex Luthor character. But it's not. He's just insane. He's just clinically insane. How does this man tie his shoes in the morning?
It's barely a Lex Luthor at that point. It's the only connection is that he's rich.
And his name's Alexander.
I think that's interesting. I think that the Google LexCorp is great concept.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like
it's cool.
that.
Yes.
I actually do enjoy the idea of him being younger, of him having a ton of money at his disposal. But I think that while they're interesting concepts, I don't think they play well into a motivation, into a story, into a character, because what it does is just feeds into convenience over and over again. Yes, I would like a body of this guy. Thank you, government. Okay, now I have a body.
Why do they bow to him so much? Because what's her name? Elastigirl, Holly Hunter.
Jesus Christ.
She voices Elastigirl. Senator Finch, thank you.
Yes.
She's like, no, fuck you, Lex Luthor. But then the other guy's like, oh, yeah, so what do you need? Feed me a Jolly Rancher, you insane man.
Well,
fair enough. Okay.
Well, what I like about Lex Luthor is that he's this sort of weird and to some of them unassuming fucking billionaire idiot who is going to provide to them what the government wants, which is a way to rein in Superman.
Yeah, okay.
Finch sees through that. She sees Lex, but everyone's also like, well, he's a means to an end, and he seems harmless. I think and that's played into at the end when Superman visits him in the cell, and he's like, aha, I'm insane, haha, I can't even stand trial. Yeah. I think that there are more layers to Lex I really do. I think that there is a
No, I
Lex
just
who
liked
is,
your imitation.
Yeah.
sure, who is smart, but hiding it under this is social degeneracy. And I like where
listen. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
You can finish your thought. You can finish your thought. I'm
well,
sorry.
I think some of the best moments with Lex is where you see both of them coming through. I love the scene when he's orchestrated this entire benefit to get these characters together and to sow the seeds he's looking to sow. And then he gets up and he gives this incomprehensible speech.
Yeah, oh boy.
And it makes you uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable watching. It reminds me of kids talking in Zoom calls who just don't have the first fucking idea of what they're trying to say, you know?
Yeah.
But the ways that the crowd is clapping for him still because he's putting on the gallery, he's like, aha, open bar, I'm done talking.
Uh-huh.
I like the ways that Lex is operating on a bunch of different levels. I think he's smarter than you're giving him credit for.
Sure. Okay. But here's the thing. If they really wanted to show that he was smart, make his plan better. Because let's get back to his plan. Because like you said, at the impetus of us talking about Lex Luthor, the plot of this film relies on everything that Lex Luthor does lining up perfectly. We don't see him like orchestrating any of that. He lays it all out beforehand, and it's just the plot of the movie. And it's like, yes, it was my plan all along.
You learn about his plan retroactively, and when you realize, okay, this has all been set up for him. Unfortunately, that does make it feel like, oh shit, that's really convenient. Oh shit, okay, he's been doing this the whole time, but that means that the motivations of these other characters, like, does that even make sense? Like how did he get? How does he know about all the superheroes? Like that, it's a really big Deus Ex Machina thing that I think takes away from the themes and the motivations of a lot of the characters, because essentially it means that it's all for naught because Lex Luthor controls everything. Like what the fuck is the point if he can just snap his fingers and fart and then everything goes to shit? Like there's no reality to it.
It doesn't make Lex Luthor feel smart. It makes the writing feel dumb.
Yeah.
And contrived and inconvenient, as Tucker said.
Yeah.
But so Lex Luthor wants to import some kryptonite. It's all part of his plan because he knows Batman is gonna know that he's importing kryptonite, even though he could just smuggle the kryptonite, but he wants a import permit for it, even though he could just smuggle it because he is a criminal mastermind. But no, Batman steals it from him, which is part of his plan. Does he want Batman to steal it?
I don't think so. No. He wants the kryptonite. Are you kidding me?
For why? Because he wants Batman to kill Superman. But Batman needs the kryptonite to kill Superman.
But he wants to make a weapon to be able to end them both, I guess.
Which is Doomsday, which he doesn't need the kryptonite for.
But he doesn't know about that at the time.
No, I think his plan all along was to create Doomsday.
He doesn't know Doomsday exists till he walks in the fucking thing, and the ship that's 2 gazillion years old and created by the smartest race of people is like, yes, hello, random person, take all my power.
Yeah. It's just we don't have to keep analyzing Lex Luthor's plan because it's just completely contrived and it makes no sense if you put any amount of like pressure on it. If you poke it at any which direction, it just falls apart under the weight of you analyzing it. So
I feel like that's true to a certain point. I think when they were so close, when okay, I'm gonna grab Lois, I'm gonna push Lois off the building, so Superman comes up. Yeah. I really like this setup of I've got Martha, I've got Lois. Yeah. I'm going to force you to go fight Batman, who is now Batman's fucking ready to roll. I love the training montage.
He does CrossFit.
He's got CrossFit, he's got tires, he's chaining shit to himself, doing pull-ups. I really
because of course doing a few more push-ups is going to help him.
It'll help him.
Superman.
I guess maybe you could say it helps him move the armor around more, I guess.
Or also Batman's constantly training all the time anyway, you know. So a cool training montage,
which we haven't seen him do up to that point.
Well, because he drinks and he boozes and he also works out and he sleeps with women. He does all the cool Batman stuff,
which you don't see him do.
Well, no, we do see him drink and booze and sleep with women. There's that one woman that he sleeps
all
with.
Of that.
Yeah, and he drives sweet cars.
Who does he sleep?
I don't know, some nondescript female.
Yeah, because she's unimportant to what he's doing. You see him wake up and he walks to go take a shower, and she's like lying in the bed with him.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I'm not gonna
lie. Regardless,
it must have been a fleeting moment. I must have just.
If you're not paying attention to this film, it's gonna pass you by, and that's on you. It's not on Zack Snyder.
Do you guys? Okay, Tucker.
I think that we could analyze Bruce's motivations a little more. We could analyze that. We tackled Lex Luthor. I think the last thing to talk about is Clark Kent, is Superman. And in my eyes, I think he is the more interesting part of this movie for one very specific reason, which I'll get into in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually like how Man of Steel plays into this, with that movie being the setups for Perry White, for Lois Lane, for him working at the Daily Planet, which is really the stinger sort of at the end of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we're into a Lois Lane Clark Kent relationship. Like they share an apartment, they're making meals for each other, all
They're
that.
about to
I
get
think,
married.
yeah, well, he wants to, which is revealed way later. But I think all of that works really well, and it creates a new kind of Superman relationship wise, which I think is actually very interesting. We also get to see him be a journalist in some things, which doesn't happen in other kinds of. Superman media, to be honest.
In the Ultimate Edition, yes. A lot of people say that Zack Snyder doesn't know how to write Superman. I push back on that by saying this ain't your granddaddy Superman. This is Zack Snyder's Superman, and basically, while you can critique him, using comic book Superman's previous iterations of him is kind of a moot point, because this is Zack Snyder's interpretation of that character. And we could get into a larger conversation about making Superman dark and gritty when there's this massive piece of iconography. But as it stands, he's Zack Snyder's Superman. I don't think he's any more flawed than any other aspect of this film, which is quite a bit.
I think his Superman is just that. It's his Superman. It's the way I feel about a lot of the ways that superhero media comes to the screen, right? It's fun to see that one-to-one comic translation, but like Captain America Civil War is not the Civil War storyline.
No.
But by its own merits, it is a compelling storyline, you know? And so my opinion on Zack Snyder's depiction of these characters, I don't think Batman should kill. I don't, but I can go watch anything with Kevin Conroy's Batman and read the comics for that, right?
Yeah.
This is Zack Snyder taking these characters and recontextualizing them, and I think challenging what the audience wants out of them. So no, he doesn't write the comic Superman. He writes his Superman, and I think that self-indulgent Zack Snyder is when he is at his strongest. I think he's at his strongest when he's doing what he wants to do.
I think I just find it too baudy, and the Jesus metaphors are way too much.
It's not necessary, man.
He gets in his own way with all of the writing,
and makes it feel pretentious.
We get it, Zack Snyder. You doing a Jesus metaphor. You don't know how to write Superman as this hopeful being, so you make him dark and gritty because we can. This is the larger problem with Zack Snyder, is that he wants to do this deconstruction of the superhero genre. He did an adaptation of Watchmen, which is quite literally that. But his problem is that he doesn't really get it. He doesn't get it. Because Watchmen is a deconstruction of the superhero genre. And we're meant to see these people as sad and fucked up. And, fighting crime isn't a good way to deal with your problems with society. But in the comic Watchmen, those violent sequences where they're fighting crime aren't given any like big body, like cinematic moments in the comic. But when Zack Snyder adapts that into a film, he does do that. So he's like,
big fucking tangent here, Bucko.
I know, but
it's important though.
I'm gonna wrap this around, because Zack Snyder wants to do the deconstruction, but he doesn't get it. So he just does he just reconstructs the superhero genre while he thinks he's deconstructing it. And he does the same thing in Batman v Superman. He thinks by making these characters dark and gritty and using them as political devices, like you said, Abram, that he thinks he's doing something. And but showing us that, this Batman is dangerous because he kills. He's been jaded by this world. And if you want to get into like the Dark Knight Returns thing, he has fascistic elements. But and Superman is a Jesus metaphor, and he's removed from humanity. But then he just does cool things with them. He makes them action figures, which is the opposite of what the movie is supposed to be.
Okay, so I see where you're coming from, but I don't necessarily think that Zack Snyder's commentary is about the way that Superman or Batman or even Wonder Woman view themselves and their place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Zack Snyder is placing these characters in a society that's trying to make a decision about them.
Okay.
So much of the film is about, what do people think of Batman? Do we need a Batman? Do we need a Superman? It's not, does Superman feel that he needs to put the weight of these people on his shoulders, which he wrestles with, but he wrestles with that as a consequence of the fact that the news and people protesting in the streets and all these things are responding to him. They're being legislated and they're being changed, right? And they're being told how to operate. But ultimately, Batman doesn't care. Superman cares because he's more empathetic than Batman.
I disagree with that. He literally says in this, when they're doing the hearings about him, he's like, I don't care what they say. He said that's towards the beginning of the film. He's like, I don't care about those hearings.
Yeah, but he goes to the hearings and he saves the people and he helps.
He doesn't save anybody. He flies away. The whole courtroom explodes. We never see him save anybody, and then he flies away while they're rescuing people.
I meant he rescues people around that. That was my
okay.
In general.
Okay.
He rescues people. Yeah. He is helping them. He's a little bit more empathetic, but also he does fly away because it's not about him. It's about how everybody else reacts. And I think one of the more interesting aspects of Batman versus Superman is that a lot of this film doesn't have action in it. A lot of this film is not about Batman and Superman under their masks. It's about Clark and Bruce and Diana and the ways that they interact.
It's not
with
about
people.
Diana.
Well, no, not really.
It's about Diana in some respects. She plays a more central role.
She watches that flash drive.
She does. We'll get to the flash drive. But I think that the film is not necessary, because Watchmen is about, here's fucking Owl Man. I think that's his name. I
Night
really
Owl,
don't like.
I think.
I don't care. I don't like Watchmen very much. I didn't like the comic. Didn't really like Zack Snyder's adaptation. Sorry, Mr. Snyder. I love you otherwise. But I just think that's not necessarily what he's trying to do. I think it's about everyone else, and I think that's interesting.
But here's the thing, though, because you say it's about the people reacting to it, but this is still a Batman and Superman movie. They are the central characters in this story. We see interspersed news clips. We see at like the beginning of Justice League, we see some people reacting to the death of Superman. The love affair with the man in the sky. But then make it a more on the ground story if that's what you want to tackle, because this is still a Batman versus Superman story. This isn't people reacting to Superman existing. I like that concept of the story when it's explored like 2 or 3 minutes total in this film, but I think it's cool that that's what you can get out of it. But Zack Snyder clearly isn't serving that in the entire narrative.
Yeah, I think there's just a problem with the balance between those two things. I think that Abram's right. This movie does do more commentary on general opinions of Superman or superheroes and their place in society and all that than most superhero movies do. And I think that's a great concept. But I think the fact that it isn't necessarily fleshed out, it is relegated to a passing shot of a news clip, or someone offhandedly saying something in the background, or a side character saying something. It means that you don't have any connection to the people who are reacting to that, and it means that you don't have any touchstone for it. It's like, well, so if I was in this world, what would I think about it? But we don't have any characters to relate to. So then let's get back to the characters that we do know, which is the superheroes, and at nearing the end, of course, watching their bombastic fights and feeling their emotions. And I think the movie is, from what's actually in the film and presenting its emotional context, is more about the emotions and conflicts of the superheroes and not the general context around them. Although that is in there, and it takes a little bit away from the emotions of the superheroes. So there's just a balance there. Those ideas, I think, are pretty juxtaposed to one another. And the fact that he tries to tackle both makes neither one fleshed out properly.
Well, for me, I think it's interesting the way he does play both, in the ways that the wonderful Jeremy Irons portrayal of Alfred, which
it's
I think
fun. I like it. He's sassy. He's sassy.
Yeah,
I like him.
I like. He says, Batman couldn't do shit. We need Bruce Wayne right now. And I think what this film does to sort of centralize everything outside of the capes is take them out of their capes for a lot of the film. You get the Batman versus Superman fight, the Doomsday fight, the warehouse, which is the last portion of the film. Yeah. And then you get the chase sequence and some other isolated shots. But for the most part, you're not seeing, as people in our Discord call it, link in the Discord, cape shit. There's not a lot. There actually isn't a ton of it in the film. Yeah. So I think that does lend credence to the fact that this is about, sure, maybe it's not about all one or all of the other. It's about where these things are rubbing up against each other, where Clark Kent is going after Batman, trying to do reporting. You know, I think there's interesting crossover of their identities and the ways that they're forced to be their more human street selves for a lot of the film.
Here's what I'd say to that, and we can continue down this road, or we can move on to some other aspects of the film. Here's what I'd say to that is that, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they are out of the suits for a lot of this movie. But when they're out of the suits, when Superman's doing his reporting, when Batman's doing his detective work, if you want to call it that, when they're doing all that kind of stuff, the movie reveals at the end they were playing into Lex Luthor's plan the whole time. And we already talked about how that seems like lazy writing. We don't get to see them, being themselves in this modus operandum. They're being puppeteered by a crazy character whose entire plan is just the plot of the movie, and we don't see him formulating it. And we
takes a lot of agency away from the characters.
Yeah, it takes the agency away from the characters. Thank you, Tucker.
Yeah.
And thank you. Yes. So yeah, while they are out of the suits for a lot of this, they're still playing into the larger narrative of this, and they aren't being able to be their own characters. They're being manipulated by Lex Luthor's plan, which is in turn the sort of lazy and incoherent writing of this film.
Sure, I see where you're coming from.
So here, I'm going to tie it back to my Superman point that I was making earlier. Is while I think that some of the strongest aspects of this film are the fact that we are given a new kind of Superman story where we're seeing more journalistic aspects of him. We're seeing him be in a relationship, things that we haven't really been explored in other Superman movies. Honestly, I haven't seen all the old Superman movies, but I can pretty much guarantee that they didn't really go into that. I don't even think I've seen Superman Returns.
It's not very good.
I've heard. But I think that the problem this movie does is it relies so heavily on what Superman and Batman are like. Sure. We and of course we got the origin story for Batman in that cut through sequence, all that. But because there's so little setup for everything, and Superman's arc relies so heavily on you having seen Man of Steel and understanding the introductions of the characters there, it makes so much of it feel vapid. It's like, okay, well, why should I care about why this Batman does certain things if I haven't seen him become Batman? If this Superman is just having these moments, being a journalist, stuff like that, but you don't really have him growing into that, well, why should I care? Why should I care about these things if they're not properly set up? There's so little context for everything, and you're thrown straight into the middle of it, and you're bounced around through everything. It's just like, well, that defeats the purpose of a character arc. If you start in the middle of the character arc, I don't understand. What the balance is here.
That is a big critique of this movie, is that they went right into the first interaction these characters have is hating each other, when in The Dark Knight Returns, it's after Superman and Batman have known each other for decades. Is when their conflict occurs.
The first thing we know about Batman in this is that he's angry at Superman, and that makes him much less of a Batman. It makes him an antagonist for Superman in a way, and I really think that is unfortunate because that character could be so interesting, but you don't learn almost anything about him. Everything about his character relies on, you know what Batman is like, but this isn't the Batman you're familiar with. This ain't your daddy's Batman. This is Zack Snyder's Batman. I want to know what happened to this Zack Snyder's Batman that made him the way that he is now, and why should I care about siding with him at all? It depends on how you want to side with who in the movie, but he has such an interesting perspective on things that isn't explained because you don't have any context for the character.
Yeah. If I may spin Tucker's point into moving forward in this discussion and in the film, Tucker brought up the fact that this is their first interaction, they hate each other, and how exactly does that conflict come to an end? It comes to an end with a scene that lives in infamy. I
don't even think you can argue for this one, Abram.
A scene wrapped up by a single word. That word is Martha. Save Martha, rather.
It's literally the most bad faith version of the argument to just say that it's, because their mom has the same name. It's I think it's a humanizing moment for both of them. They both see each other. Superman's literally about to die, and he's like, all I want you to do is save my mom.
No, he doesn't.
And
He says Martha. He calls his own mother Martha, which is so forced. And that's the reason why Batman stops. Superman's choking to death. His kryptonite plays against his face. He says Martha. He doesn't say his mother. It's not a humanizing moment because Martha is just a tangential name that works into the fact that Batman's mom is also named Martha, which, by the way, that's not true in the comics, is it right? He came up with that.
What?
Are Batman and Superman's parents both named Martha, their mothers, in the comics?
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Drop that. Not a problem.
Yeah.
My bad. But that is so shoehorned into that moment, it kills Batman's arc of, okay, this guy is going to kill the entire planet. I have to take my agency, possibly take my agency and end him. But he's also kind of human, right? Just because the name is the same. If he, honestly, could have been more powerful if Superman was like, my mother is in danger, and Batman's like, oh well, I had my mother too. Like the word mother is more humanizing than fucking Martha, which just feels out of place. If you're dying, you're not going to call your mother by her fucking maiden name. That makes so little sense. It really doesn't make sense.
And if I can piggyback off of Tucker a second, as we rail against Abram here, so you say that it humanizes them. I would argue that what should humanize Superman and Clark Kent, Superman first, is that Batman knows he saves people. These things are on broadcast across the news channels. He's saving that ship. He's saving those people at Dios de los Muertos. He's saving he saves that Russian spaceship or whatever. He's saving people across the planet. But I guess you could say it takes a personal connection for him to do that. But here's the thing. Batman knows that Superman is Clark Kent. Presumably, he would also know that Clark Kent has a mother. Maybe he would even know that his mother's named Martha. The fact that he doesn't.
If he did any detective research on this guy
the
he's
world's
going to kill,
detective.
he would have seen a case file that shows that his mom's name is Martha, and it's not a shocking moment for him because he knows that already.
But does he know that?
He did the research. He's the world's greatest detective. He knows that he's Clark Kent.
Do we know that? Do we have any indication that he knows that it's Clark? No.
Wait, he does.
Do we? I'm pretty sure we don't. But what we
okay,
know
well
for
then
sure,
Batman sucks as a detective in this movie then too.
What we know
Jesse Eisenberg can find
Jesse Eisenberg knew. How does he know?
What we know for sure,
Wait, hold on. Actually, I pretty much can refute this. We don't know for sure that there are Superman and Batman case files on the fucking flash drive, but there should be logically for this fucking flash drive that is from the servers directly from the information that fucking Lex Luthor has. There should be Superman and Batman case files on that fucking thing, which he should watch, and then he has all the information about Superman.
I also think he does call him Clark in the movie.
He might. I might be wrong about this. Yeah. I might be wrong. But what we know for sure is that Clark knows who Bruce is.
Yes.
And Clark knows Bruce's mother's name is Martha.
Yeah, I guess he's a journalist and he could look that up.
Actually, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say Martha. By the way, Batman very well might have still killed Superman if Lois hadn't come barreling in, as she tends to do, to sort things out. All Clark does is freak Batman out for a second. Batman's already out of his fucking mind by the time we've gotten to this point of the film. I don't Sure, he could have said my mom, right? But does that change if you've come 2.5 hours into the film where the fucking bullet and the notebook set all of this stuff up? What's important for me at that juncture is what that scene accomplishes. Yes, he should have said mother. He should have said mother. Okay, I agree. He should have said mother. Okay. Fucking call him Darren Aronofsky. He loved to say mother. What it accomplishes is this break. Both of these characters are already broken, and they break a little bit more. And I think that the moment of Bruce being like, okay, I've fucked up. I like watching him go so far that he loops back around, because this is an unhinged Batman. I like the idea of an unhinged Batman being sobered by Superman by remembering not only Superman's mother's name is Martha, but I've got parents. I've got a life. I've completely thrown it away.
Yeah.
I like him going so far that he's about to fucking kill Superman for really no reason. He admits it later on in the film. He says, I failed him in life. I'm not going to fail him in death too. He went so far that it took something fucking ridiculous to pull him back. And I think that that is a compelling character moment. Asterisk that he should have said mother.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I think that is all true in concept. Unfortunately, from my perspective, you're clearly more emotionally invested in this film.
Yes.
You have more experience with it. I'm watching this film from the perspective of analyzing its convenient writing, and that's what that is. Of course, that's what it accomplishes. But when you're analyzing the scene itself, it is convenient writing that does not match the motivations of the characters, that takes you out of the moment, that doesn't logically make sense for a litany of reasons. And that's why the scene should be torn apart. Of course, it does, have that impact on Batman, but that impact on Batman could be done through a much better written way that is coherent, that fits in the plot, that services the characters and their personalities and their motivations. All of those things should not be discounted to focus on what it accomplishes.
Sure.
It's
And I think
akin to
that's one of the biggest problems with this film. There's so many good concepts, but if you ignore the fact that they're not executed properly on so many different levels throughout the entire thing, and so many things are emotionally convenient and so many things are plot convenient, you're ignoring the context of the film that's in front of you for concepts, which the film does have, but they're in the background for this poor writing, which is throughout the entire thing.
It is akin to, if I may just drop in a point here, it's akin to the conversation that we had about Superman snapping Zod's neck at the end of Man of Steel.
Sure.
So we talked about Martha. We check that off the list. We talked about Martha. Can we just go? I think we've got some heavy stuff here. Can we just go through? We talk about some things that I liked just because they were fun and cool. A Batman warehouse sequence. You said that it's an unhinged Batman. He's just killing people left and right. It doesn't make sense that he turns into the Batman of Justice League. We'll see what happens in Snyder Cut. But he's just murdering people, and it's a well-choreographed sequence. I like the idea of Batman being like this weird, creepy monster that hides in the corners of abandoned sex trafficking houses, and how he brands sex traffickers. I think that's really cool, as him being a more violent, and he's killing people in indirect ways, even though he still kills people in direct ways by blowing up a half a dozen cars in a chase sequence. What else do I like about this?
Sequence is so fucking ridiculous and bad, and does not fit the character's motivation. It does not fit the context of the sequence, and doesn't make any fucking sense.
Let's talk about the nightmare sequence. I think that it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's KEWL cool.
Ooh.
And I think I'd like to say that Zack Snyder, instead of being handed the keys to this mainline DCEU universe, should have been handed the keys to a fun, spin-off, alternate universe Injustice story.
Sure.
Because he could handle that much better. He can make the characters dark and gritty. Because what would be cool is if mainline Batman that we see in the DCEU doesn't kill. And then Zack Snyder's Injustice universe Batman does, because then we can see how irrevocably fucked up the entire world has become, how Superman has become this maniacal dictator in this world. It's all a really cool concept for like an Injustice style universe. And as an alternate timeline, as an alternate future, I think it also works. But we'll see what happens in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah,
that sequence is emblematic of why I love the film.
Okay.
The comic books, by and large, are not especially well written on the whole.
Okay.
Comic books as a medium is very commercialized. It's about tying books into each other. It's about, I'm reading event comic, little box, go read Blue Beetle number 89, and you're gonna understand what happens in this panel. And I will, right? There are some excellent comics that I absolutely love that I think are just as interesting, well-written, and compelling as any other book you're going to read, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is a scope and spectacle and fun to an event comic. And for me, you guys are totally right about the contrivances, about the writing. But I think Batman vs. Superman, for me, accomplishes better than any other film the feeling of reading a comic. It's got ridiculous shit like the nightmare sequence, the Man-Bat jumping out of the wall.
Yeah.
We have all of this stuff. We've got Pa Kent showing up on top of the mountain.
Talking about dead horses.
talking about dead horses.
Horse motif.
Yep.
Horse motif. All of this stuff comes back, and it's in the context of these awesome action sequences, this incredible score with the character music, and this goofy Lex Luthor. And all of this it feels like I'm reading a DC event comic. Now, that's not to say that the writing couldn't be a lot better, that a lot of the plot points couldn't be smoothed over. That's all true. But like I talk about on Quest, I really like theme, I like film feel. And for me, the feel of this movie is really great. I think that Zack Snyder, his movies feel like something, you know. There's a lot to hold on to in terms of his style. I really love his style, and I just think that his style pairs really nicely with bringing an event comic with all of its baggage to film.
It is style over substance. I think that's what a lot of people say about Zack Snyder. It's style over substance.
I also think the film has substance because I like the thematic material.
I don't think it works in the slightest.
Even though I totally see where you guys are coming from. That's the thing. I think that this film has a lot of merit, but that merit is contextualized through a specific lens.
Yeah.
If we are, hey, I'm Timo Nelson, this is Quest for the Bestest episode, whatever the fuck. Talking about Batman versus Superman, that's a very different conversation.
That is an alternate universe I do not want to live in. That's worse than worse than the nightmare sequence.
Well, here's the thing. Let's tie this back to the nightmare sequence, because essentially what you did there was your thesis, but it had very little to do with the nightmare sequence.
And just made me think of it.
But here's the thing. Nightmare sequence, cool. I think that Tanner and I had a conversation of this as it was wrapping up. He was like, oh, well, you know, that feels a little bit out of place. So I think that it's something that is emblematic of why this Batman is interesting. I think that it shows where his thought process has been going for so long that it leads to him to do something so drastic as plan to kill Superman. However, what it actually culminates in is the single most forced, unnecessary, and dumb fuck way to shoehorn in a tie-in in goddamn history.
Save Lois. Lois is the key. I'm too early. So long.
And is that it's not a dream? He probably thinks it's a dream. It's not going to come back in the Flash that comes out. And
Flashpoint is supposed to happen in this universe. That's the planned plot for the Flash movie. So that is not a dream. That is reality.
So the worst part of this movie that I really don't like is the fucking flash drive.
Flash in the flash drive.
Flash showing up is weird and strange, but I could have allowed it. I could have allowed it. The arbiter of taste could have allowed it. But when
I'll put it on the list.
When you pair it with the fucking flash drive that has the trademarked logo for Aquaman on a folder, even I have to check out.
Yeah.
That precipitated the amount of studio meddling that fucked up everything that came after it. Because I want to believe, and I do believe that one Zachary Snyder without a gun to his head wouldn't have put that in there. But that doesn't matter because it's in the film.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a much larger issue with Walter Hamada and Jeff Johns and all these people. But in the context of this film, regardless of all of that, it's so fucking bad. That's my one humongous negative of the film. It takes you out of that world entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Diana Prince. Let's get a nice little double click of the keyboard here. It's Aquaman. Look, he's got his fucking trident. It's just so bad. It's so bad.
I'd also like to add that quickly that Cyborg's dad, his whole point of recording the experiment is to see what happens, and then as soon as it starts working, he shuts the camera off.
Nope, you can't see this. Yeah. So here's the thing. I actually want to tie this in. I agree. Very bad. Terrible way to set up a universe.
God,
so shoehorned, so forced.
Akin to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Is it better or worse
armors?
with the basement, the supervillain basement?
Well, at least that's only a passing shot. That's not focused on.
Okay, well, it is focused on because you see the arms and the wings and stuff like that.
Well, why we're not talking about fucking Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Sorry.
Which, by the way, I don't think any of us has seen more than fucking once.
I haven't even seen it once.
Okay, well, but I actually would like to tie this into something that connects to the flash drive, which I think is the terrible underutilization of Diana Prince.
Okay.
She is a background figure with no fucking personality, no fucking character development, nothing. And she's a Deus Ex Machina at the end whose motivations are not properly set up in the fucking slightest. She has no personality. She has no character. She has no relationship to these people. They're set up in passing moments where she is a stone-faced motherfucker and nothing comes out of it. She's just there to provide the hype at the end.
So here's I'm gonna say something wild.
Okay.
Oh, for the first time.
Diana Prince in this film is the exact same as Black Panther in Civil War.
Sure.
They both.
No, he has character personality and character development.
He kind of does. He's like, oh, I'm here. The embassy blows up. Now I'm gonna claw out. I think that they serve the same function. They were there to set up a film that was imminently gonna release, and they're there for people like me who love Wonder Woman and Black Panther to say, there's Wonder Woman, there's Black Panther. Yeah. And tease of the fucking electric guitar riff, and cool. She's being Diana Prince. She's in the world, right? I really think in the context of the film, she serves her purpose. And she's not really, if she defeated Doomsday, she'd be a Deus Ex Machina. I think if anything, she's an un-Deus Ex Machina because she's the reason Superman gets stabbed, which I didn't realize until this time.
Wait, watching. She cuts off. Well, hang on. Let's talk about that in the big final sequence.
But I think my larger point is I think she's fine in the movie. I think she does exactly what she needs to do.
I just think she's underutilized because you could have her in the film, but I just think she could have been more clearly tied to the central conflict. She could give her a motivation that is the reason why she tied in. Her motivation is, oh yeah, she wasn't a superhero for a while, but now she wants to be a superhero again, which is very not clearly stated. It's sort of shown in her minor actions. But I think the fact that she is so backgrounded for so much of it makes her use in the movie is fine. She's there. But the fact that she is such an important character with such interesting history and possible motivations that is not delved into. She's a set piece that sets up for something exciting at the end.
And she gets delved into.
It doesn't do the character justice.
In her own solo movie.
What?
She gets delved into in her own solo movie.
Of course.
Okay, but so it's a backdoor like setup for the Wonder Woman origin film, which is fine. Superhero movies do that all the time. I think it's fine.
But she's not related to the central conflict. But so Tucker, why is she there?
Tucker, she's not related to the central conflict because what role is she gonna give? Superman's already God and Batman's already the devil. What role is she gonna fit in? There's only one more role, and who's the man? I guess Wonder Woman's not man. She'd have to be another god, and that just throws off the whole balance of Jesse Eisenberg's crazy, insane allegories.
Yeah. You can't have the flash drive without Diana Prince, so she's integral to the plot.
She's integral to the story.
Wait, why not?
It's a joke. We're joking.
It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Also, Batman, you know that she's with you. You know her. Stop. Don't say a lie.
Oh yeah, that didn't make any sense. I thought she was with you. No, I thought you said
you didn't.
You sent her the
you know her. Superman's never seen her before. You know her.
Doesn't make any sense.
But that obviously that line for the trailer comes in the trademark stamp of the DCEU, a big gray giant smoke monster fight.
Holy fuck, Doomsday! Oh my god, it's so stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Holy shit.
Well, first of all, as we've alluded to before, doesn't really make any sense in the context of Jesse Eisenberg's plan. Was he planning to make Doomsday? Was he not? Did he know that this was going to happen in the Kryptonian ship? Did he not? Did he just come up with it on the spot? Who's to say? But it sure does culminate in a big old punch fest.
I feel like this is set up though. Because from the beginning he wants Zod's body to make Doomsday.
Yeah, I guess that's he does. It is part of his wild and contrived plan. So you got me.
Doomsday in the context of that is to break in case of glass, or also leave him in his goo sack.
Break in case of glass.
Well, does
break
Jesse
glass
Eisenberg...
in case of fire?
In case there's glass, break.
Oh god!
Oh, there's more glass now.
That's an endless cycle. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah. But what is there to say about that Doomsday fight?
So since my last viewing of this film to this one, I have become very sick and tired of CGI big battles.
Yeah.
And for a little bit, I was like, maybe this film should have ended with the Batman versus Superman fight, which is really fucking cool. The warehouse fight, which is really fucking cool. Arrest Lex Luthor, call her good. But that's how I thought the film should end. But then the Doomsday fight starts happening. I'm like, this is fun. It's fun. I think it's fun, and I love the sacrifice. I almost cried.
Ugh.
I think it's a
It
great
doesn't
moment.
carry any weight because the dirt rises at the end. It doesn't carry an ounce of weight. Even
Very true.
10 minutes later in the film, it doesn't carry an ounce of weight.
I think it carries weight in the same way that the Infinity War snaps to dust carry weight.
Okay, well,
Sure.
okay, that's fair.
However,
fair, I guess.
Okay,
Okay.
this is that reduction of the weight with the fucking dirt going a couple millimeters off the fucking thing doesn't make any fucking sense. Is it his life energy fucking expelled from his corpse or something? He's dead
Yeah.
in Justice League. He's dead.
They have to dump him in that goo.
Why is the dirt moving? Doesn't make any sense.
Also, I will say that the snap comes after a dozen movies of setup for a bunch of characters that die.
Yeah, but I don't care about those characters.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, you fucking do.
Okay. Well, we should start wrapping this up, folks. We've talked this movie
Hold
to
on,
death
no,
and back.
I think there's still something else to talk about.
Okay,
Which
what do you
is the
have?
fact that there's way too many fucking side plots in this movie. And
Okay.
that's why I think the contrived writing shows its ugly head just fucking constantly.
Okay.
There's so many side characters. There's mob shit going on. There's Scoot McNairy
There's Martian Manhunter.
Angry. Well, kind of. There's military stuff. There's so many different storylines feeding into this, and none of them are fleshed out, and they all feel contrived, and none of them feed naturally into one another because there are so many time skips and motivation changes and things are just thrown together that it really focused me on the fact that the writing is contrived. Because if you're going through and you're like, oh wait, hold on, so we did see Batman fight this one guy like earlier. Is that him? Like I can't really remember. Oh, okay, so he's from the thing. Oh, okay, well there's bombs going on. Like there's just so much shit going on in the background of this movie, and I think that it really hampers the fact that if that wasn't in there, we could have got more time with the characters, which would have better fleshed them out, which would have made when they came together more impactful. It would have hidden the contrived writing a little better. It would have gotten rid of a bunch of characters that none of us give a shit about because they're not fleshed out. It's really egregious because it ends up being the reason why this movie's so fucking long.
Okay.
It didn't need to be this long because you don't need all these fucking side plots that don't add anything to they just add complexity. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. Tuck, would you like to be your closing statement on the film?
No, hold on. Let's see.
Okay. I'll do my closing statement. Zack Snyder delivered us a film where our heroes
and
are
that's
two. What?
That's it. He delivered us a film.
Zack Snyder delivered us a film where our heroes are two murderous hypocrites. They both murder people. They're two murderous hypocrites who never learn to be better or change. Even though Zack Snyder gives us a one-off scene, a one-off interaction where that's apparently supposed to restore their humanity, but it doesn't do it in any meaningful way. He packs this film with body symbolism, nonsensical metaphors, and plot lines that really go nowhere, as Tucker said. And it's symptomatic of Zack Snyder's flawed filmmaking. I think he can make good films given the right circumstances, but he's just been handed the wrong projects. That's my thesis on this film.
I want to go last.
Okay.
Oh shit. Okay. I'll just quickly say that I went into this movie with pretty high hopes. I was watching it from essentially a fresh perspective because I didn't remember fucking anything from this movie.
Yeah.
And I was going in, I was taking my notes, and honestly, from the beginning, mostly positives. I'm like, okay, I like how this is being set up. I like the fact that we're getting these new versions of the characters. I like some of the ways that these concepts are being introduced. Unfortunately, they don't go anywhere. There's no weight to anything. There's no development to anything. It feels like part 6 of a story that we never got the other 5 parts to. And it means that the characters aren't properly developed. It means that the world isn't properly set up. And it leaves everything feeling forced and vapid. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed in this, because I think there's so much potential here, but none of it is fucking realized because they just keep moving on to other stuff that's not as interesting as the stuff that's set up in the beginning. And I think it's really unfortunate because this could have been so damn cool.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just nothing to it.
Yeah, could have been.
6 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
And why 10 out of 10, Abram?
So I accidentally gave my thesis already, like Tucker said. So if you want to edit that part out and put it here, you're not going to. That's a joke. Don't worry about it.
No.
I really like it. Here's the dealio, right? Let me lay it on you.
Okay.
I love DC. I've loved DC since I was a little boy, and it's impossible to sit here and say that that doesn't color my opinion.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Fair enough.
I really think that Zack Snyder operates on a very specific wavelength, and if you can hear it, you hear it and you love it, and I do.
Mhm.
I'm never going to sit here and say that the writing is not flawed, that the script is that the plot, all of this stuff doesn't need a lot of work, because it does. But for me, like I said, the feel of this world is really great. I love seeing Bruce and Clark interact. I
Mhm.
love getting this sort of Trinity storyline with the three characters at the end. I love what the film is putting in front of me. I really like these different sequences. I think that the film looks nice. I think it's a big step up from Man of Steel visually. I think it has a much better color palette. I think Zack Snyder refined himself in a lot of ways for Man of Steel. And he just delivered something that, as a huge DC fan, I find really interesting and compelling and thought-provoking. Not only from what's the role of men and gods and all this stuff, but of
Mhm.
I grew up with Batman, I grew up with Superman, and now I'm old and I'm jaded and I don't like anything.
It does feel like that, yeah.
Where does Batman and Superman fit into our actual world?
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about potential versus execution, sure, and I think you're right. But it's that potential, it's those ideas, it's how kinetic some of these action sequences are, how much I love some of this dialogue, how much I love these depictions of the characters, that I really connect with the film time and time again. I can recognize its flaws, but there's a feel here in a string of concepts that really compel me and make me incredibly excited to finally have another Zack Snyder film.
Yeah.
I am 10 times more excited for Justice League now.
2 Zack Snyder films.
I know, but one of them doesn't have Batman and Superman, so I don't care as much.
Yeah.
But I'm just really excited, and I think you guys are right. If we're gonna adjust my spectacles and get into objective film boy, yeah, it's got all of those issues. How the fuck did Lex do half the stuff he did? I don't really know, but I also don't care.
Okay.
And my perspective on the film is so rooted in subjectivism, and that's so important to say. But I think that it pushes comic book films in a different direction. I'm so fucking tired of the same comic book film. It's why I don't like Aquaman very much. It's why I didn't like Wonder Woman 1984 very much, on top of all of its issues as this incoherent plot in itself, right? So many Marvel films, it's the same thing over and over. And for me, this is something different. And it spoke to my interests. And it was a compelling and alternate view of these characters. Now, I see that we have 1 minute and 36 seconds left.
Yes.
You're not going to want to start another recording, so I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to filibuster because this is my video. I fucking love Batman versus Superman. I think this film is really special. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I think that Zack Snyder had such a potential to make a different world and a different cinematic universe than everyone else's, and we just didn't get it. And this film is so much more than people thought, and this is the cut that should have been in theaters. I think we'd be having a different conversation on the whole if this cut was in theaters. I think people would be a lot happier, and also if this film was a Marvel Studios film, everyone would love it. And that's just a fact. Thank you for watching, everybody. I have been Abram. This has been Tanner's show that I stole from him. Tucker was here also. We'll be back next week to talk about Justice League. Fuck Joss Whedon. Justice League Zack Snyder cut in 2 weeks. We'll see you later.
So long.
Bye.